That was good. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and today I have got another book review for you. But before we get into that book review, make sure you are liking and subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you can get regular updates for when I put out new content. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And occasionally, if I have extra content, I'll just sprinkle a little extra release throughout the week. So that said, guys, I have finished Of Gods and Powder by Mr. Brian McClellan. And today we are reviewing Empire of Blood, or Blood of Empire. Empire of Blood, Blood of Empire. Survey says Blood of Empire. I got it wrong. Anyway, moving on. Guys, Brian McClellan has officially shot into my favorite authors list. He makes the cut, 5 out of 5. I absolutely loved the way that this ended. I listened to these on audio, which of course, if you are listening to them on audio, you will realize that Christian Rodska did not narrate this one. It's because he was suffering from cancer. Brian McClellan tried to give him time to recover from his chemotherapy, and unfortunately it was just, he had to move on and he had to go with another narrator. Although the new narrator does a fantastic job. I don't know his name off the top of my head. It's a little bit jarring, but once about 2 hours into listening to him, I was fully adjusted. Basically, what ended up happening is a lot of the gruffer characters ended up being a little bit more polished and posh. So that's really the only difference there. He just puts the his own little spin on these characters. Some of them, though, when he was narrating, I couldn't really tell the difference. That said, I freaking love this book. I can't even begin to have feelings that I can properly express. So before I go any further, I do, of course, need to warn that this is the third and final book in this trilogy, and the last set within the Powder Mage world, which makes me sad. So if you haven't read these books already, I am about to head into spoiler country, and so I will give you a little bit of time to, shuffle on out of here. Come back later and possibly watch the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, things of that nature. All right, you're gone or you're here. Whatever happened, let's move on. I gave you fair warning. So here, we are finally, everything is coming to a head. And oh my God, Brian McClellan did this in such a way that even when I was like 90% through the book, I really didn't know what was going to happen here. I didn't know how he was going to bring all these plot threads together. Essentially, we have Ben Stike has invaded Dionyse to go after the third Godstone, while Khos'Sagil is back in Landfall, having unlocked the Godstone that Ka-Pol sealed, did a blood seal on all the way back in the first book of this trilogy. I was going to say the name of the book, and it just went right out of my brain. But, I mean, so Khos'Sagil has unlocked the Godstone. He is not a good guy. But what I thought was super interesting here was we don't actually spend almost any POV time, really, with our antagonists. Khos'Sagil he interacts almost entirely through intermediaries or puppets or pawns or lieutenants. And then for Lyndet doesn't really make an appearance except through like intermediaries and things of that nature until the end of the book. And so these characters who are like driving the story through their actions don't really get a lot of page count. Instead, we get to see our protagonists interacting and reacting to their choices and their actions, which I actually found super, super interesting. Like I said, we've got Ben over in Dionyse, where he is basically trying to invade and figure out a way to not only stealthily kind of get to the Godstone, which he then finds out is smack dab in the middle of their like capital city, and then he's just got to deal with it. And so seeing Ben interact and make these decisions. It takes Ben, who is this larger than life character, and he still gets these really awesome moments that you've come to know from Mad Ben Stoik. And it kind of tones him down a little bit. It humanizes him, because a lot of the I'm just gonna hit it response, which is his bread and butter, doesn't really work in this situation. So he's just got to kind of sit back and rely on others to really help him. And this is done brilliantly, because he has to basically pretend to be a slave. And just through the way he holds himself, he has to be told, hey, you got crazy eyes, and that just doesn't work here. And you glare at people, and that's not what slaves do. And so he's got to realize that his demeanor has to change. And through this, he gets a lot of introspectiveness. He gets to do a little bit of soul searching. And he's like, hey, I'm getting older. I've got Celine, my daughter, or my adopted daughter. I need to figure out what I want to do with my life once this conflict ends, if I even survive. And so that really starts shaping his decisions and his choices. And it's so fascinating to read. I've been specifically not talking about Vlora until now, because Vlora, at the end of the last book, straight up just snorted a handful of gunpowder and just went crazy on a Dionysus army. And she and Daniel just tore through these people, and she got messed up. But in order to do that, she had to basically cold clock Olam, bundle him off, and she put him in chains and sent him off to try and protect him, which was a bad idea, because he didn't take it very well. Olam is barely in this book. And, you know, when he does make a comeback, you are very, very dubious about it. But basically, we are dealing with Vlora, who has gone what is called powder blind. We have been hearing about going powder blind for 6 books now. And it's always talked about, oh, you make sure you don't take too much powder, you'll go powder blind. Well, we figured that out is basically if you overextend past your capabilities, it's like you can hit these huge highs, but there's a cost. You basically burn yourself out. And she can no longer touch her sorcery. Vlora, who was one of the strongest powder mages, walks around with a cane. She is dealing with this emotional distress from not having Olam, basically the pillar of her life, her partner, her lover, having abandoned her for her betrayal of him. Well, he views it as a betrayal. And so we see Vlora very, very angry at the start of this book. Even after being reunited with her brother, her adopted brother, Bo, that cameo at the end of the last book where Bo shows up had me just, Bo! I've always loved Bo in the Powder Mage trilogy, and to have him back was just so, so good. And he got married. He married the maid from the original trilogy, which I thought was really, really interesting. It's funny because whenever I picture Bo, I don't picture somebody who's like maybe 34. It's because it was narrated to me. And so the voice that was attributed to Bo was like, in the last book he was like 30. And so like in this book I pictured him as 40, but like his wife is like super young. But like, anyway, that doesn't matter. I just have trouble picturing Bo, but he's still just as good as he used to be. He doesn't get to get let off the chain as he did in Powder Mage trilogy, but I still really, really enjoyed seeing him here. Crop Hole is, of course, just always a delight. I did not see the end of this story coming, but we'll come back to that because, just chef's kiss. So good. Our last little group of characters is Tracia and Mikkel. And essentially, they had, at the end of the last book, Mikkel had convinced Tracia to basically run away with him and flee Landfall to kind of at Olam's behest because, lo and behold, Koppel is her sister. and Cossedual is both of their grandfather. And she doesn't agree with what Cossedual is doing because he killed her family and has just been kind of keeping her around as a sacrifice. And so they kind of leave, and then they realize that due to what had been happening to the Palo, who are the people in the downtrodden in Landfall, that they need to go back because thousands upon thousands of people have been turned into sacrifices and killed. And so they go back and re-infiltrate Landfall. And because of everything that McKell has gone through with the Yarrett household, he kind of has to reintegrate into maybe not the... He brings Dionyse and Palo together to go against what Cossedual is doing. And so we got to get to see a lot more of their relationship and how they work as a unit and how they really grow and evolve. And I really, really, really enjoyed it. So I do want to talk about the end of this story. Completely non-spoiler, but the end of this story, where it ended up, is, you know, typically a lot of fantasies will go, oh, and they rode off into the sunset, or everything ended up great, even though 90% of your friends are dead. This felt like a very, 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 very realistic ending to me. Don't get me wrong, it's still a relatively happy ending, but it isn't the, like, glowing overall, just happy, happy, joy, joy ending, because our characters are having to deal with the ramifications of their actions and the choices that they have made throughout this trilogy, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was so satisfying for me. Overall, I give this a solid 5 out of 5. I'm not going to dicker here. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Brian McClellan is now one of my favorite authors, and I just hope that you guys enjoy this as much as I did. So, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below if you've read Powder Mage. Do you love Powder Mage? Did you love Of Gods and Powder more than you loved Powder Mage? Because I did. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this trilogy more than the original. I thought the author improved with every single release. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Or if you just want to talk books, anything bookish related, tell me about your day, tell me about what you're reading. We've got a great group of friends that we've collected together down in the Wizardly Duo Discord. I have the link in the description down below. So let me know let me know your thoughts, guys. So till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye.